We often assume that wealthy and successful individuals live in a world far removed from ours. We see their businesses, their lifestyles, their influence, and we imagine that they reach there by doing something grand from the very beginning. But that is far from the truth. The most powerful trait that sets rich people apart is not just the amount of money they have, it's the way they think. They think bigger and they start smaller. Thinking bigger means looking beyond immediate comfort. It's about seeing opportunities where most people only see obstacles. When an average person sees a problem, they think of how to survive it. But when a wealthy thinker sees a problem, they think of how to solve it, and in solving it, how to create something that serves others and generates value. That bigger vision is not about money itself. It's about impact, purpose, and possibilities. But the other half of this equation is even more important, starting smaller. This is where most people hesitate. Many of us want to achieve big goals, but wait for perfect timing, enough money, or the right connections. The wealthy mindset doesn't wait. They take the first step, even if it is small, even if it feels insignificant compared to the dream, because they know progress is built step by step. Consider how businesses begin. Amazon started by selling only books online. Today, it is one of the largest companies in the world. Every great empire, every influential idea, every breakthrough innovation began as something small. Rich people do not underestimate the power of small beginnings because they know that a small, well-directed action is the seed that grows into something transformative. The difference is not just resources, but mindset. Wealthy thinkers place their trust in the process. They test ideas on a smaller scale, learn quickly, adapt, and grow. They don't waste time waiting for the perfect plan. They start small, fail fast if necessary, and refine until the bigger vision comes alive. This way of thinking also removes fear. When you start small, failure doesn't destroy you, it teaches you. And when you think big, failure doesn't define you, it refocuses you. That is why the combination of thinking bigger and starting smaller is so powerful. It allows you to dream without limits, but act with discipline. So the real question is, how do we apply this? Instead of being overwhelmed by the size of our goals, we can ask, what is the smallest action I can take today that moves me closer? And instead of thinking only about today's challenges, we must ask, what is the bigger picture I want to create in the long run? Wealth is not just measured in bank accounts, but in mindset. To think bigger is to see possibility where others see limitation. To start smaller is to move forward where others stay still. Put these two together and you have the formula not only for financial wealth, but for lasting impact in any area of life. 5 keynotes of the speech: big thinkers see opportunities and problems, not just obstacles. Wealthy individuals value small beginnings as the seeds of transformation. Progress comes from taking small, consistent steps, not waiting for perfect conditions. Starting small reduces fear of failure, while thinking big gives purpose and direction. Combining a big vision with small actions creates sustainable success and lasting impact. Big thinkers see opportunities and problems, not just obstacles. This mindset is one of the greatest distinctions between people who remain limited and those who grow into extraordinary success. For many, problems are like walls, immovable, intimidating, and discouraging. When a challenge appears, they stop, complain, or give up. They view problems as roadblocks to their goals. But those who think bigger, the ones who eventually become wealthy not only in money but in ideas and influence, see those same walls differently. To them, every problem is a door waiting to be discovered, a chance to learn something new, a chance to innovate. They understand that within every difficulty lies an opportunity for growth. And sometimes, the very problem they face becomes the foundation of a breakthrough. When a big thinker encounters a problem, their first instinct is not to ask, why me? But rather, what can I do with this? That simple shift in questioning changes everything. Instead of being paralyzed by frustration, they open their minds to solutions. History is filled with examples of people who transformed obstacles into opportunities. Entrepreneurs who faced shortages found new ways to create products. Innovators who were told something was impossible developed technologies that changed industries. Each time, the problem itself became the reason they succeeded, because it pushed them to think differently. Average thinking tends to focus on the surface of a problem. For example, if a business is losing customers, many will see it as a sign of failure and may give up. But a big thinker will dig deeper and ask why customers are leaving, what a met need exists, and how to serve them better. What looks like a setback is, in fact, a powerful opportunity to improve. This is why many rich people say failure was their greatest teacher. They don't glorify mistakes, but they value the lessons hidden inside them. Problems force them to evolve, and evolution creates advantage. It's also important to understand that thinking bigger requires a long-term perspective. Those who see opportunities in problems don't just focus on short-term pain. They look at the bigger picture of what solving that problem could mean. If they face financial struggles, they think about building systems that generate income for years ahead. If they face criticism, they think about how to refine their ideas so that they stand the test of time. This ability to zoom out and see the broader horizon is what allows them to treat every obstacle as part of a larger journey rather than the end of the road. Consider how wealth itself is often created. Many of the richest businesses today emerged because someone noticed a problem that no one else wanted to deal with. Transportation was unreliable, so new ride-sharing services were born. Communication was limited, so new platforms connected billions. Payments were complicated, so digital systems made them effortless. Each of these examples came from individuals who looked at the frustrations of daily life not as permanent barriers, but as signals pointing toward opportunities. The bigger their vision, the more eager they were to confront these problems because they understood that solving them would create value not just for themselves, but for countless others. This mindset also shapes how they handle uncertainty. For many people, the unknown is frightening. They avoid it because problems can feel risky. But big thinkers welcome uncertainty because they know problems are often disguised chances to differentiate themselves. When everyone else runs from difficulty, the few who run toward it stand out. They recognize that real breakthroughs don't happen in safe, predictable environments. They happen when you are pushed beyond what is comfortable. In this way, every problem becomes a training ground for resilience and creativity. The most interesting thing is that problems often reveal what matters most. If you think about it, problems highlight areas that demand attention, areas that are not working well. They are signals pointing toward improvement. A wealthy mindset does not resent these signals. It listens to them carefully. Instead of saying, "This is unfair," they say, "This is showing me where the real opportunity lies." That perspective allows them to focus energy not on complaining, but on building solutions. And solutions are the foundation of wealth, influence, and long-term impact. Even on a personal level, thinking bigger transforms how you handle problems in daily life. If you face rejection, instead of dwelling on the pain, you can ask, what can I learn from this experience? How can this push me to grow stronger? If you face a lack of resources, instead of complaining about what you don't have, you can ask, how can I creatively use what I do have to move forward? These questions open doors to new possibilities that small thinking cannot see. Over time, each small opportunity you uncover from a problem compounds, building confidence and eventually leading to results that others will call luck. But in reality, it was perspective. Big thinkers are not superhuman. They don't avoid problems, they simply respond differently to them. They treat problems as raw material for innovation. They treat challenges as invitations to grow. They treat obstacles as signals pointing toward what matters most. And that is why they rise above while others stay stuck. By seeing opportunities in problems, they not only change their own lives, but they often create value for others, which is the true foundation of lasting wealth and success. Wealthy individuals value small beginnings as the seeds of transformation. This truth often gets overlooked because when we see someone's success, we usually see only the end result. We see the skyscraper, not the brick that was laid first. We see the million-dollar company, not the initial idea scribbled in a notebook. We see the successful individual, not the countless small, deliberate steps that built their path. But those who rise to wealth and influence know that every great achievement is born from small beginnings, and they embrace that stage instead of avoiding it. The average mindset often dismisses small starts as insignificant. People tend to think, this is too small to matter, or this can't possibly grow into something meaningful. That mindset kills potential before it even has a chance to breathe. Wealthy thinkers, on the other hand, understand the law of compounding effort. They know that small beginnings, consistently nurtured, transform into something far beyond what the starting point suggests. They see a seed not just for what it is today, but for the tree it can become tomorrow. They value the process of planting, watering, and waiting because they trust that every stage contributes to the eventual outcome. The beauty of starting small is that it allows you to learn without overwhelming risk. When you begin with a modest step, you gain space to experiment, make mistakes, and adjust without catastrophic loss. This is why so many successful entrepreneurs start with a simple product, a small audience, or a single service. Amazon began with books, not everything under the sun. McDonald's began with a single restaurant, not thousands. These small beginnings gave room to refine operations, test ideas, and discover what truly worked. Wealthy individuals appreciate that starting small gives them clarity and control while they build a foundation strong enough to handle growth later on. Another reason small beginnings are so valued is that they teach discipline. When resources are limited, when the vision is still fragile, you learn to maximize what you have. You learn patience, persistence, and creative problem solving. You learn to appreciate progress in its simplest forms. Those lessons stay with you even when success comes. Many rich people credit their humble beginnings as the reason they never lost their sense of gratitude or resilience. It was during the small, often overlooked moments that they built the character required to manage something much larger. Without those early lessons, success could have easily destroyed them. There is also a psychological advantage in starting small. For many, the thought of pursuing a big dream feels paralyzing. The gap between where they are and where they want to be looks too wide. But breaking it down into small beginnings makes it manageable. A wealthy mindset doesn't get stuck in the enormity of the destination. It focuses on the power of the first step. One sale, one client, one written page, one new skill learned. These become victories worth celebrating because they create momentum. And momentum is what carries you from the starting line to the finish. Wealthy individuals also understand that small beginnings are not a sign of weakness, but a strategy for sustainability. It is tempting to go big immediately, to invest heavily and try to make a splash. But without a strong foundation, rapid growth often collapses. Those who respect small starts avoid this trap. They build layer by layer, ensuring each step can support the next. This patience is what allows them to handle expansion without falling apart. They see that real growth is not about speed, but stability, and that stability is born in the early stages of small, careful steps. Small beginnings also attract opportunities that would otherwise remain hidden. When you start, even in a small way, you send a signal to yourself and others that you are serious about your vision. People notice action. Investors notice initiative. Partners notice consistency. What starts as something tiny begins to draw support, encouragement, and resources. It is not the size of the start that matters, it is the willingness to start at all. Wealthy individuals deeply value this principle because they know that action, no matter how small, creates ripple effects far larger than the action itself. Moreover, valuing small beginnings nurtures humility. It reminds you that success is not instant, that every accomplishment is built over time. Humility keeps you teachable, open to feedback, and willing to improve. Those who dismiss small beginnings often carry arrogance, expecting success to come instantly. But those who value the small see themselves as learners, builders, and growers. They respect the process, and the process, in turn, rewards them with long-term success. If we look closely, every transformation, personal, professional, or financial, follows this pattern. A fitness transformation starts with a single workout. A career transformation begins with learning one new skill. A financial transformation starts with saving $1. The wealthy mindset honors those beginnings and treats them as sacred. They know that while others might overlook or underestimate them, these small acts are compounding silently, setting the stage for extraordinary results. Wealth is not about skipping the early steps, it is about embracing them fully. Those who achieve greatness are the ones who had the courage to start small, to nurture their beginnings, and to see in them the promise of transformation. They understood that every giant leap was made possible only because someone first dared to take a small step. That is why wealthy individuals value small beginnings, not as limitations, but as the very seeds of everything they eventually grow into. Progress comes from taking small, consistent steps, not waiting for perfect conditions. This principle may sound simple, but it is often the dividing line between those who move forward in life and those who remain stuck in the same place. Many people spend years waiting for the stars to align before they begin. They want the perfect financial situation, the right connections, or the ideal amount of time. But those who achieve wealth and influence understand that perfect conditions rarely, if ever, exist. Instead, they build their progress on consistency, on doing small things repeatedly, trusting that those actions will compound into something significant over time. When you focus on small, consistent steps, you create a rhythm that keeps you moving forward even when motivation fades. Big dreams can feel overwhelming, but breaking them into smaller actions makes them manageable. For example, writing a book can seem impossible if you look at the task as a whole, but committing to writing just one page a day can eventually create a finished manuscript. Building financial wealth may feel daunting, but saving or investing small amounts regularly builds momentum. Wealthy individuals understand this truth deeply. They do not wait to have millions before they start investing. They begin with what they have and they stay consistent. The power of consistency lies in momentum. A single step may seem small, but when repeated day after day, it builds unstoppable force. Think of it like pushing a heavy wheel. The first push may feel exhausting, but once the wheel starts rolling, each push requires less effort and the wheel gains speed. That is exactly how small, consistent actions work. They build habits, they create progress, and over time, they make the extraordinary seem inevitable. Wealthy thinkers focus on building that momentum rather than waiting for everything to be perfect. Another reason progress depends on consistent steps is that action breeds clarity. Many people believe they need clarity before they start, but clarity often comes from movement. By taking small steps, you learn what works and what doesn't. You gather feedback, adjust your path, and refine your strategies. Those who wait for perfect conditions never give themselves the chance to learn because they are stuck in planning and preparation. Wealthy individuals embrace imperfection in the beginning because they know that taking action, even imperfect action, teaches them more than endless waiting ever could. This mindset also helps overcome fear. Fear thrives in stillness. The longer you wait, the bigger your doubts grow. But consistent action weakens fear because it builds evidence of progress. Even a tiny step proves to you that you are capable of moving forward. For example, if someone wants to start a business, making one phone call, designing one prototype, or serving one customer can break the paralysis of fear. Each step taken reduces the size of the fear, and over time, those steps accumulate into confidence. The wealthy mindset values this approach because confidence, like wealth, is built in increments. Consistency also separates dreamers from doers. Many people talk about their goals, imagining what life could be like if everything went right. But without consistent steps, those dreams remain fantasies. Wealthy individuals understand that dreaming is the easy part. Discipline is what makes the difference. They build routines, habits, and systems that keep them moving forward even when the excitement fades. They may not make giant leaps every day, but they commit to progress every day, and that commitment compounds into remarkable achievements. It is also important to note that small steps accumulate not just in visible results, but in invisible growth. Each small action shapes your mindset, strengthens your discipline, and builds resilience. For example, consistently setting aside a small amount of money may not feel significant at first, but it changes how you view money. Writing daily may not produce a masterpiece overnight, but it changes how you think and express yourself. Wealthy individuals value these invisible shifts because they know that lasting success comes not only from external results, but from the internal transformation built by consistent effort. Waiting for perfect conditions often hides another problem: perfectionism. Many people delay action because they fear making mistakes. They want everything to be flawless before they begin. But wealthy thinkers recognize that perfection is an illusion. No plan ever survives reality unchanged. They understand that it is better to begin imperfectly and improve through consistency than to wait forever for a moment that never arrives. Their progress is not fueled by flawless beginnings, but by the willingness to start small and keep going despite imperfection. This principle applies across all areas of life. Athletes improve by training regularly, not by waiting for the perfect body. Artists create masterpieces by practicing daily, not by waiting for the perfect inspiration. Entrepreneurs build empires by solving problems step by step, not by waiting for perfect market conditions. Wealthy individuals adopt this mindset in everything they do. They prioritize action over waiting, consistency over perfection, and progress over excuses. In the end, the truth is clear progress is built, not wished for. It does not arrive in sudden bursts of luck, but in steady, deliberate actions compounded over time. Wealthy individuals rise higher not because they had perfect circumstances, but because they refused to let imperfect circumstances stop them. They chose to take small steps consistently, and those steps carried them further than anyone who stood still waiting for perfect conditions. Starting small reduces fear of failure, while thinking big gives purpose and direction. This is one of the most powerful balances that wealthy individuals and successful thinkers cultivate in their lives. Fear of failure is often the number one reason people never begin. They hold on to dreams, talk about ideas, and imagine possibilities, but when the time comes to act, the thought of failing paralyzes them. Starting small is the antidote to that paralysis. When you begin with a small step, the risk is manageable, the pressure is less, and the fear shrinks. At the same time, thinking big gives you a compass, a vision that pulls you forward even when things get tough. Together, these two principles work hand in hand. The small start gives you courage to act, while the big vision gives meaning to every step. Failure feels frightening when the stakes seem too high. If you risk everything in one leap, the possibility of falling can keep you frozen. Wealthy individuals understand this, which is why they rarely gamble everything on a single move in the early stages. They test ideas on a small scale, experiment with prototypes, or start with limited investments. By doing this, they allow themselves to fail without being destroyed by the outcome. Each small attempt is a lesson, not a catastrophe. The fear of failure loses its grip because the consequences are smaller, and each experience becomes a stepping stone rather than a dead end. At the same time, starting small provides proof. Fear thrives in uncertainty and the gap between imagining and doing. But when you take a small step, even if it's modest, you prove to yourself that movement is possible. That proof builds confidence, and confidence weakens fear. Imagine someone wanting to start a business. If they wait until they have all the funding, all the knowledge, and all the connections, fear of losing it all will likely stop them before they begin. But if they start small, perhaps offering their service to one client or creating a simple version of their product, the step feels doable. That small success becomes a foundation to build on, and with each new step, fear fades further into the background. Yet starting small on its own is not enough. Without a big vision, small steps can feel aimless. This is why thinking big matters just as much. A big vision gives direction and meaning to the journey. It reminds you each small action is part of something larger, that even the smallest effort contributes to a greater purpose. Wealthy individuals think big not because they are dreamers detached from reality, but because they understand the power of having a North Star. That vision allows them to endure setbacks because they know where they are headed. Thinking big also inspires resilience. When challenges arise, a small vision may crumble, but a big one gives you reason to push forward. Imagine someone whose goal is just to earn enough to cover expenses. When faced with failure, they may quit because the goal was small to begin with. But someone who envisions building an organization that impacts thousands of people will see the same failure differently. For them, it's a temporary detour, not the end of the journey. The size of the vision determines the strength of the resilience. Another benefit of combining small starts with big thinking is that it keeps you grounded yet inspired. Starting small prevents arrogance and recklessness, while thinking big prevents complacency. Wealthy individuals avoid extremes. They don't leap blindly into massive risks, nor do they settle for mediocrity. They balance humility with ambition, safety with vision. This balance keeps them moving steadily toward their goals without being derailed by fear or distraction. It is also worth noting how this mindset influences creativity. When you allow yourself to start small, you give yourself permission to test and adapt without perfection. Fear of failure doesn't suffocate your creativity because the stakes are lower. But the big vision ensures that your creativity is not wasted on random experiments. It channels your efforts toward a meaningful outcome. This is why many innovations come from those who dare to test small ideas repeatedly while keeping their eyes fixed on a larger mission. Psychologically, this balance changes your relationship with failure. Starting small turns failure into feedback. Instead of labeling yourself as a failure, you see the attempt as a test, something you can learn from and improve upon. Thinking big reframes failure as a temporary event, not a permanent identity. Together, these perspectives create a mindset where fear no longer dictates your choices. Instead, courage, resilience, and purpose guide your steps. When wealthy individuals talk about their journeys, they often emphasize how modest their first actions were compared to where they ended up. They may describe a garage, a kitchen table, or a single computer as the birthplace of something massive. The small beginnings reduced their fear enough to take the leap, but what kept them moving through years of struggle was the big vision. Without both elements, their stories would not have unfolded the way they did. The lesson is clear: progress is not about waiting until fear disappears. It never truly does. Progress is about shrinking fear by starting small and overpowering it with the pull of a big vision. The wealthy understand that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward despite it. And the way they cultivate that courage is through the deliberate combination of small, manageable starts and bold, expansive thinking. Combining a big vision with small actions creates sustainable success and lasting impact. Many people believe success happens through sudden breakthroughs, dramatic leaps, or overnight transformations. But in reality, lasting success is rarely built in a single moment. It comes from a careful balance between seeing the future in grand terms and grounding that vision in practical, steady steps. Wealthy individuals and big thinkers understand this balance. They know that a vision without action is just a dream. An action without vision is directionless movement. When you merge the two, when you anchor a big picture with small, consistent steps, you create progress that is not only real but sustainable over the long term. A big vision provides a sense of purpose that keeps people inspired. It gives meaning to the work and turns ordinary actions into part of something extraordinary. Without vision, the daily grind can feel empty, repetitive, and uninspiring. But when you know that every step contributes to something larger than yourself, you find energy and persistence that others cannot understand. Wealthy individuals see their vision as the fuel that keeps them going. It may be building a company that changes industries, creating wealth that supports generations, or developing innovations that improve lives. That vision pulls them forward, giving context to even the smallest effort. At the same time, big visions alone can overwhelm. Looking at a goal so large, changing an industry, earning millions, impacting thousands, can make the first step feel impossible. This is where small actions come in. By breaking the vision into manageable steps, the impossible becomes achievable. Writing one page a day can eventually become a book. Saving a small amount each week can eventually build wealth. Talking to one potential customer can eventually create a thriving business. Small actions create a bridge between where you are now and where your vision leads you. Wealthy individuals understand this deeply. They never dismiss the small steps as irrelevant. Instead, they treat them as the essential building blocks of greatness. Sustainable success is built when these two forces are combined. Big vision ensures that your work does not lose direction or meaning, while small actions ensure that your progress is consistent and achievable. Without vision, you risk burning energy in all directions without making a real impact. Without small actions, you risk getting stuck in endless dreaming without tangible results. Together, they form a cycle of clarity and momentum. The vision gives you a target, the actions give you progress, and progress reinforces belief in the vision. Another key reason this combination works is because it balances patience with urgency. Big visions require patience. They are long-term pursuits that may take years to unfold. But small actions introduce urgency because they can be taken immediately. Wealthy individuals balance the two mindsets. They are patient enough to wait for their vision to grow, but urgent enough to act every day without delay. This combination keeps them from both extremes, neither rushing recklessly nor waiting endlessly. It creates a rhythm of steady forward movement that compounds in extraordinary outcomes. This approach also allows for adaptability. When you take small steps toward a big vision, you can adjust along the way. The vision provides a destination, but the path is flexible. If one step fails, you can try another without abandoning the dream. Wealthy individuals value this adaptability because they know no journey unfolds perfectly. Markets shift, circumstances change, and new challenges appear. Small, consistent actions give them the ability to pivot without losing sight of the bigger purpose. This adaptability ensures that their success is not just achieved once, but sustained over time. The impact of combining vision with small actions extends beyond personal success. It creates lasting influence. When people see someone with a bold vision who also demonstrates consistent discipline, they are inspired. They recognize authenticity because the actions match the vision. This builds trust, attracts support, and multiplies impact. Wealthy individuals often become leaders not because they only had a big dream, but because they demonstrated the persistence to back it up with daily effort. Their combination of vision and discipline inspires others to believe and to follow. On a deeper level, this combination also protects against burnout. Chasing a big dream without appreciating small wins can leave you feeling exhausted and unfulfilled. But celebrating small actions along the way gives you encouragement to continue. Wealthy individuals know how to break their vision into milestones, and they celebrate progress at every stage. These small victories keep energy alive, prevent discouragement, and create a sense of momentum that sustains them through the long journey. Every lasting success story carries this principle. The visionary thinker who imagined something bigger than themselves, and the disciplined doer who honored small actions every day. Whether in business, art, science, or personal growth, the formula repeats itself. Vision provides the destination, small actions provide the path. Together, they create not only success that lasts, but also an impact that touches others. Wealth without vision fades. Action without vision exhausts. Vision without action frustrates. But when you put them together, when you hold a bold dream in your heart and pair it with the discipline of small, steady steps, you create something much greater than yourself. That is why wealthy individuals, leaders, and change makers build their lives on this balance. They understand that real transformation is not about either dreaming or doing, but about uniting the two in a way that creates sustainable success and leaves a lasting mark on the world. When we look closely at what truly separates wealthy thinkers and achievers from the rest, it is not luck, privilege, or even timing. It is mindset. They choose to see problems as opportunities, while others see them as barriers. They respect small beginnings and honor them as a starting point of all transformation. They value progress born from consistent steps instead of waiting endlessly for perfect conditions. They reduce fear by starting small and fuel their persistence by thinking big. And ultimately, they combine a bold vision with daily action, creating success that lasts and impact that multiplies. The real lesson for all of us is that these principles are not reserved for a select few. They are available to anyone willing to practice them. You do not need to wait for the perfect time, nor do you need vast resources to begin. What you need is the courage to start small, the wisdom to think big, and the discipline to keep moving forward. Every great achievement began this way, and every future achievement you hope to create will be built on the same foundation. The difference between those who dream and those who achieve is not chance. It is the decision to act with consistency, vision, and resilience. If we can learn to think bigger and start smaller, we too can build not only wealth, but a life of lasting purpose and meaningful impact.